Hey y'all, today is January 20th and we are doing lesson 5-3 in Sabbaths. So this is a mini lesson that corresponds to that lesson. So grab a piece of paper, a pencil, your calculator, and let's get started. Let's look closely right here at number 1. So we have -4 times x plus 3 equals 8. So in order to solve this equation, I have to take care of what's on this side first. And I'm going to take care of that by using the distributive property to get rid of those parentheses. Now, we talked about the distributive property last semester. That's where I multiply what's outside with what's inside to get rid of the parentheses and expand the expression. So let's do that real fast. We're going to multiply -4 times x together, and -4 times x is simply -4x. Now I'm going to multiply -4 times 3. Well, -4 times 3 is -12. So that gets rid of my parentheses and it stays equal to 8. So -4x minus 12 equals 8 should look like an equation that you know how to solve. So in order to solve this equation, I'm going to draw my line down my equal sign to show that whatever I do on one side, I do on the other side as well. Okay, and the goal is to get the x by itself. So I'm working my way away from the x, in close towards the x. That means I'm going to undo subtracting 12 first, and I undo that by adding 12, the opposite operation. Okay, so on the side with the x, the 12s cancel out, and I bring down that -4x, and I set that equal to what I have on the other side. 8 plus 12 is 20. Now, x is connected to -4 through multiplication, so I undo that by dividing by -4 on both sides. So on the side with the x, -4 cancels out. X is by itself, and 20 divided by -4 is -5. So x equals -5 is my solution. Moving on to number 2. 3 equals 3/4 times b minus 8. So same thing. Over here on this side, I have a number outside of my parentheses that I have to multiply with what's inside of the parentheses, and that'll get rid of the parentheses so I can solve the equation like normal. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 3/4 times b, and that's going to be 3/4 b. And then I'm going to multiply 3/4 times 8. Sorry, 3/4 times -8. And when I do that, I'm going to get -6. Remember, you can use your calculator, but you could have done that in your head. So 3/4 times -8 over 1. What I know is that my 4 and 8 will reduce. 4 goes into 4 one time. 4 goes into 8 two times. So then I'm just multiplying what I have in the numerators. 3 times -2 is -6. Again, your calculator would have told you that same thing. Okay, so I have distributed that 3/4. I still have to set it equal to 3. Okay, but this should look like an equation that you know how to solve. I'm trying to get the b by itself, and whatever I do on one side, I must do on the other. So I'm working my way away from the b first, so I'm going to add 6 on both sides. On the side with the b, the 6's cancel out, and 3/4 b is by itself. On the other side, 3 plus 6 is 9. Now, to get that b by itself, I could divide by 3/4, but I could also multiply by the reciprocal, 4 over 3. And so I'm going to multiply by 4 over 3 on both sides. So on the side with the b, my 3's cancel out, the 4's cancel out, and b is by itself. On the other side, I have 4/3 times 9. I'm going to write this so I have two fractions. So 4/3 times 9 over 1. Now I'm going to look to see if anything reduces. And I know my 3 and 9 do. So 3 goes into 3 one time. 3 goes into 9 3 times. So now I just have to multiply my numerators together. 4 times 3 is 12. And my denominators are both 1, so I can ignore them. So 12 equals b. And that is our solution. Okay, moving on to number 3. We have 1/6 times p plus 24 equals 10. So again, I've got to get rid of those parentheses, and I'm going to use the distributive property. So 1/6 times p is simply 1/6 p. and 1/6 times 24, I can think of that as actually 24 divided by 6. And 24 divided by 6 is 4. So plus 4 equals 10. Okay, this should look like an equation that you know how to solve now. So the first thing I'm going to do is undo that adding 4 by subtracting 4, that opposite operation. On the side with the p, the 4's cancel out. I'm left with 1/6 p equals 10 minus 4 is 6. Now to get that p by itself, I can divide by 1/6, but that's the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal 6 over 1, which is really just 6. So I'm multiplying by 6 on both sides. On the side with the p, everything cancels out. P is by itself. 6 times 6 is 36. So p equals 36 is my answer.
Can you unblock me so I can do it?
I'm filming a video right now.
Sorry.
That's okay. Okay, moving on to number 4. So number 4, we've got to get rid of the parentheses, and we're going to use the distributive property. So first I'm going to multiply 6 times t. 6 times t is 6t. On the other side, now I've got to multiply 6 times 12, and 6 times 12 is 72. So I have 6t plus 72 equals 114. Now this should look like an equation you know how to solve. The first thing that you have to undo is adding 72, so you do that with the inverse operation, subtract 72. And you always do it on both sides to keep things balanced. So I have 6t plus 72 equals 114. We are subtracting 72 on both sides. The 72's cancel out. We bring 6t down, and 114 minus 72, if you put that into your calculator, you will get 42. Now to get t by itself, it's connected to 6 through multiplication, so we undo that by dividing. So I divide by 6 on both sides. The 6's cancel out, t is by itself, and 42 divided by 6 is 7. So t equals 7 is our answer. Okay, number 5. A family buys 5 airline tickets and travel insurance that costs $17 per ticket. The total cost is $1,495. Let X represent the price of one ticket. Write an equation that represents this situation. Okay, so some important information here is X represents the price of one ticket. I'm actually just going to rewrite that so I have it. X equals cost of one ticket. Okay, now how many tickets do they buy? They buy 5 tickets. Okay. They also buy insurance that costs $17 per ticket, and the total cost is $1,495. Okay, so I like to identify the total because that always comes after my equal sign. So I can go ahead and write equals $1,495. Now on the other side, I know that for one person, they're paying for the ticket, but they're also paying $17 for insurance. That's just for one person. How many times do they do that? Well, we already identified that they do it 5 times because they buy 5 tickets. So I'm going to multiply X plus 17 times 5. So this right here is the equation that we're going to use to represent this situation. Now I need to solve that equation to answer part B. What is the price of one ticket? So I'm just going to rewrite it over here. We have 5 times X plus 17 equals 1,495. Okay, so we're going to use the distributive property. So I'm going to multiply 5 times X, which is 5X. And then I'm going to multiply 5 times 17. And if I put that into my calculator, I get 85. And that equals 1,495. Now this should look like an equation you know how to solve. We're going to undo adding 85 by subtracting 85. and we do that on both sides. So the 85s cancel out, 5x is by itself. Now 1,495 minus 85 is 1,410. Now to get that x by itself, we have to divide by 5 on both sides. So 5's cancel out, x equals, and if I put that into my calculator, I get $282. So x equals $282. That's how much one plane ticket costs. Okay, moving on to number 6. What series of steps would result in the correct solution to the equation? Okay, so we've got multiple choices here. So let's just kind of work through them. Well, in order to solve this equation here, I know I would apply the distributive property. So I would distribute or multiply -8 times 0.5y. And then I would do the same thing, -8 times -3, right? So what would that give me? Well, -8 times 0.5y is going to leave me with -4y, and -8 times -3 is +24, right? And all of that is going to equal the total 3, which did not change. Okay, so every single choice has distribute -8, meaning multiply -8. So I can't eliminate anything yet. But then things start to be different right here in our second step. So our second step, in order to get that y by itself, what would I undo first? Well, I would undo this adding 24, and I undo it by doing what? I subtract 24. So I know add 24 to both sides is not correct. So I can eliminate A and D. So I'm just going to draw a line through those. A is not correct, and D is not correct, because it said add 24. I need to subtract 24. Okay, now the next thing I would need to undo is to get this y by itself. It's connected to -4 through multiplication. So I would need to divide. What am I dividing by? I'm dividing by -4. So let's look at our choices. Only one of them says divide by -4, and that is C. So C is our correct answer. We would distribute -8, multiply -8, then subtract 24 from both sides, then divide by -4. Okay, last one, number 7. Explain how the distributive property can be used to solve the equation. 3 times x plus 4 equals 36. Well, this is very similar to number 6. I know that I would need to distribute that 3. So I would multiply 3 times x, and I would get 3x. And then I would multiply 3 times 4, which would give me 12. So 3x plus 12 equals 36. Then that would be an equation I would know how to solve. Okay, so let's read these choices. So A says add 3 to each term inside the parentheses. Well, that's not what we did, so I know A is not correct. Okay, B says subtract 3 from each term inside the parentheses. That's not what we did, we multiplied. So B is not correct. C says multiply each term inside the parentheses by 3. Well, that's exactly what we did. 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times 4 is 12. So we did C. So I'm thinking C is probably going to be our answer. It says once you do that, then you use inverse operations to solve. That's always how we solve. So I feel really good about C being the correct answer. But let's just read D just to make sure. Divide both terms inside the parentheses by 3. Well, that's not how you distribute, so that is not the correct answer either. So C is definitely the correct answer. Remember, distributive property is multiplying what's outside the parentheses with what is inside. That's the end of our notes. Have a great day.